Hello, and welcome to The Beginning of Wisdom. I'm Andrew Schumacher. Perhaps you've seen a video I did recently where I was refuting Sean Griffin's attempted refutation of the Trinity. If you've seen that video, you know that Sean, throughout his attempt, was blissfully unaware that he was coming against a heresy refuted in the early church called modalism. He had not one thing to say from the text of Scripture anyway that could even begin to rightly define what was being attacked, let alone mount any sort of argument against it. This video is being recorded obviously after that one, but before I've released that video. And the reason I'm recording it is because I want it to be ready for a response that I am certain I will get. Now, I may get a number of responses, but the one I'm thinking of is to attack how old Sean's video is, as opposed to really dealing with the substance of what I said in mine. It's something akin to, why are you picking on him? This was from years ago. He didn't really understand it then, but, he knows now, and it's much better now, and you should not go picking on that old content. You should deal with something more current, something along those lines. So I wanted to make this video in order to kind of deal with that argument. Does that have any merit to it? I have two responses to that argument. First of all, when I released that video, Sean's video was not only live on his channel, still something that he thinks is worth being on the internet, even though it's just shot full with errors, but it's also the first video in a whole playlist where he's supposedly taking on the Trinity. It's pretty embarrassing for him to have something like that on his channel, no question about it. So since the video's still there, it's still fair game. There's nothing wrong with responding to it. But the second response I have to that line of argumentation is that it's just factually inaccurate. Sean still makes the same errors. He has changed a little bit of how he says things, and he doesn't always do it the same way. It's not like every video is just replaying these same arguments. But he does make the same error. He still calls Jesus the Father. He does not understand that Trinitarians don't believe that. So here's an example from not very long ago.
But ultimately, guys, I don't deny that Jesus is God. I affirm Psalm 45, 6, and 7. I affirm it being repeated in application of Yeshua's priesthood in Hebrews 1. And I just don't think he's the Father. I think it's, there's two separate characters there.
So as you can see, Sean is still up to his same errors. And he may not always say this in every single presentation, but it's still there. It's still current. And I think it's interesting that in his discussions with Kelly Powers and Matt Slick, where he knew that the person he was talking to was very well versed in what they were talking about and knew how to articulate it, he didn't get as sloppy in those cases. And that's odd to me. I mean, whenever I'm wrong about something and I learn that I'm wrong about it, I change how I do things from that point forward. I don't keep making the same errors. It seems like Sean doesn't care if he's making the same errors. If he thinks he's talking to people who are not that intimidating to him, he's fine with just kind of being sloppy and saying that we believe Jesus is the Father. But in these cases where he's doing a more difficult bit of content with somebody who he knows is not going to let things slide like that, well, he doesn't do it. And that's just weird. Like, you should just rightly say, like, you should just learn things and then say right things. I understand he believes differently, but so no, I'm not picking on Sean for errors that he made long ago and doesn't make anymore. He still makes the same errors. It's just he doesn't do it all the time, which tells me he has learned things, but just doesn't really care. I hope this has been helpful for you.